This podcast recording is brought to you by Geritol, Hair Growth for Men Club.
No. So today we will be discussing, and from the comfort of our bed, integrating creative and collaborative interests, which is something that he and I frequent. We started our mutual creative journey at the jump of this relationship. Him with his music, and he preferred drums at the time, and my writing, and I preferred poetry at the time we began.
Actually, neither one of us preferred anything. It was just the way it was. A natural, innate ability that we developed since childhood.
Or perhaps an subconscious or unwitting preference. Because while I traversed a lot of types of writing and you enjoyed a lot of kinds of instruments, we did veer closer and more often towards those two.
Well, I started playing drums when I started learning to walk, and you started writing poetry when you learned to talk.
Right.
So
exactly what I mean. It was something that we preferred. It's something that we innately and instinctively gravitated towards. Now, as we've grown older, we've become more eclectic, and especially myself with literature and him with music.
Instrumentation of all sorts.
Right, and music in general. Well, since we began, you've become a much better lyricist and music writer too. So, my favorite pastime is to enjoy other people's music, and one of your favorite pastimes, is to enjoy other people's literature. Now, we both traverse both quite often, but my love for music and the fact that I respect you so much as a musician has had a lot to do with how excited I get about you sharing your creative music endeavors with me, and you've expressed that same love in regards to my literature with you.
That's right, because I certainly do respect and admire your writings, and I think you are a spectacular, phenomenal writer. We really do enjoy the same genres and artists, for the most part. There's a core of musicians, artists, authors, painters, what have you, philosophers even, that we both enjoy tremendously on equal measure. But there's also areas that we both can go off into separately that makes them distinctly unique to each one of us. But we have delved into the different aspects of each, and we really do enjoy interacting and discussing our mutual admiration for these individuals and our knowledge of such. Although there is one aspect of artists and musicians that I do tend to thoroughly enjoy, and that is reading about their lives and their history and what influenced them. And I'm an avid reader of autobiographies even, and that's one aspect you don't typically get into. But
right, and I have my reasons for not getting into those types of things. We're 99% on par with our favorites. Right, for instance, Pink Floyd and Leonard Cohen and Manly P. Hall, as far as like philosophers and things are concerned, and even comedians like George Carlin, and topics such as history and sci-fi and those types of things, we've delved equally as deep into the same amount of documentaries and the same amount of online research as well as books. That said, sometimes we'll read different books about the same things and come back at each other and have this amazing barter trade of what he learned versus what I've learned.
Sometimes we will actually read things that are identical in their message and the knowledge of that from completely different sources, and find out later that we were reading about the same thing for a topic.
And that's great when that happens, because we bridge the same knowledge to solidify what he knows and I know. And what's great about this is we've got 23 years of doing these types of things. That said, we're really honing into, in this particular segment, our creative endeavors. I do want to say this, and this is in retort to what he said. It is true that I care more about the art than I do the artist. And I've written 2 autobiographies only to find out that as I've evolved and my perspectives have changed and I've gathered more information, that my own inaccuracies paint the wrong depiction of things. As well intended and as honest as I thought I was being at the time, it was really tailored to what I thought at the time, as well as what I was legally, especially with the situation I was in, able to communicate. And I know that that happens with artists who do interviews and to describe themselves. How I like to get to know somebody is to really spend time in their energy. If I'm going to get to know somebody, it can't be through an autobiography, an article, or hearsay. I really like to get to know somebody in person for real.
But many of these people will never have that opportunity. And for me personally, if I really respect and admire their work, I want to know what's gone into that, what got them to that point, and I'm fascinated by every aspect of that. But it, of course, has to be somebody that I really truly feel that way about. It's not everybody, and by no means is it ever celebrity-tarianism.
But what's great is when he does get into those things, I'll do my own thing during that time. And if he gets really excited about it, I'll join him, because I love seeing him smile and elated about things that he enjoys so much.
Well, and you are really good at knowing the lyrics to songs, but not knowing who the lyricist is.
That's right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with lyrics. There's many a times where Marshall knows the musician and the details pertaining to that musician, but doesn't know the lyrics as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
The sound and the lyrics, especially the lyrics, are my favorite aspect of music. That is how I come to love Leonard Cohen, and as a result of him writing poetry as well as making music, I have a couple of Leonard Cohen's books. I really have grown an affinity for his life and his journey and where he's from. So there are some unique cases where it was kind of unavoidable, where I have stumbled and fallen into their life story, and that's the same with Trent Reznor, and I admire him so very much too. But specifically regarding he and I, or you and I, throughout the years it's been amazing to watch each other's crafts improve and expand.
Yeah, and it all started at the very beginning with you sending me your poetry and me playing music at the time.
Live
And coming to see me and opening that door even wider and finding that we both had deep affinities for these things, and our love of creativity and imagination and using that side of our brain was a gift that we both utilized and did not take for granted, and used it to its fullest potential and continued to through all of the years.
It's crazy and pretty amazing that he has some of my original handwritten manuscripts. And, well, we've got snail mail, emails, smartphones, and everything now. Quite a collection, a 23-year collection.
And we'll even still find things online or read something and nerd out and send them to each other.
And take into account we spend a lot of time together now that we're living together. There are mornings where he'll go online into his favorite search engines and find articles and send them to me so I can wake up and enjoy them with my coffee. as if we were still long distance. If we were to take every way that we have archived what we've shared with each other via literature as well as music, we would have so many albums. We would have such a bookshelf prolific with books. And
and we both do.
we do. It's scattered about for the moment, and we have an office that has some. It has some, but it doesn't have all. It only has the finished products. But we have a lot of unfinished works that were exclusively given to each other throughout the years. What's interesting about living together is how we procured an office and made it this multifaceted place where we can work together as well as give each other space. We have a sign on the door that says, if the door is shut, do not disturb, and that's for our creative privacy, or even if we want to discuss something in private with a family member or friend. Most of the time, we don't shut that door. We keep it open because we're very transparent, and I keep a lot of my friends on speakerphone and so on and so forth. But the way that our office is set up is to work on our creative mediums together.
And it actually came together rather nicely. It was already a gym/office with her podcast equipment.
It was so much more than that before he moved in there. It had my equipment for podcasting, but I also had dual yoga mats and a soft rug for dancing, doing yoga, a green screen, and a projection screen. So if I want to face one direction and put my book on a tripod, and instead of sitting at my desk, I could sit on an ocean front. Or if I wanted to hook my camera up to a tripod and use the lighting, which there is an array of different types of lights, from a laser light to tripods, many tripods. I can actually use the green screen or the white screen as a green screen to make videos and to create content as well.
And now one half of it is a complete recording studio with everything necessary to create music and record in any capacity that either one of us would like to.
Now we're doing these types of recordings from the comfort of our bed.
That was our Makara interjecting and giving her 2 cents.
She was rubbing her love on the machine. But yeah, this particular type of recording that we're doing is more in our natural element, and we've only done a few things in the office. Most of the time we're laying in bed, cozy as we are now, speaking as we would if we weren't recording. But yeah, so we have drums and guitar and a synthesizer, keyboard.
Everything.
Pretty much everything.
Everything.
We have multiple mic stands and diffusers, and we soundproof, and we did a pretty exquisite job aesthetically soundproofing the room as well. So,
and a record player for exquisite vinyl listening.
and unearthing recordings, which are some of the ones that we actually did in there. So we've done a lot. We've done a lot of blending our energy and a lot of blending and incorporating each other's skills into what we do, because we both do videography. We both do music. I suck at it, but I have still gotten pretty good with using algorithms and patterns and those types of programs, those cheap programs that some of the musicians I enjoy use. I can't play instruments like he can, where he is a Renaissance musician and able to pick up almost any instrument and just start playing it. It's amazing.
But we've also done constructive things, like you helping me complete a new wing of my mom's house, making an attic, and us here making a new front porch.
Right, so we've restored a basement together and an attic together, as well as a porch. It really does help us to learn how to do things very left-brained, but still allow a little bit of that creative improvisation to play a part in how we enhance each other's abilities to get things done. And we are so fast about expediting these projects that we are sloppy at times.
Yeah, it's like trying to get the porch done while it was getting dark and being in a hurry and realizing a few days later that the railings were put on upside down, which got brought to our attention. We didn't even realize it.
But it's good when those types of things happen, because when mistakes are made or we do something that is pretty dim-witted, how we process those things, how we handle those things, how we don't put each other down or talk shit, but we laugh instead when it happens, and we don't abandon the projects when these situations occur. We actually kind of laugh through it, but it's kind of a lubrication to get through the shit. And we work diligently to get it done because we're both very impatient, especially when something doesn't go right. But we still get it done, and we persevere, and we overcome these adversities together, and we do it with such a comedic and diligent sense about things, and without berating each other or getting irritated and barking at one another. When it comes to things that we creatively enjoy, we don't tend to stumble into those types of situations too much. And one of the reasons why I'm finding is because we've been friends so long that we know what each other are more adept at. So I do a little bit more videography than he does. And in the end, I don't think that either of the two of us, except for his multifaceted ability to play instruments
And audio production.
right,
She's
especially
better at video, I'm better at audio.
Absolutely.
And she has helped me tremendously creating content to promote my music in a multitude of ways. And I'm capable of doing it, but it will take me far longer and becomes a bit more tedious.
Not only do we help each other do things, but we explain how they're done, so that instead of us having to rely on the other person, we really can assert ourselves when the other one's not around. So we polish each other's skills in this way. And there are some things that he enjoys more than I enjoy. His ability to deal with the tedium of wires and software goes beyond me. And it's the same with cooking, culinary arts. I love cooking. I fucking he loves eating. I love cooking.
I can make good breakfast and I can grill like a mother would.
Yeah.
She is unbeatable in the kitchen, and I am very grateful for those skills.
As far as culinary arts are concerned, I love oils and vinegars and seasoning and the chemistry, the science, the scent. Then I love tasting things as I go. So therefore, that's something we both get to enjoy, and he's so appreciative. When I'm doing my author thing, my writing, I get live music. And we'll create an ambiance that's lighting candles and lighting incense and just getting an ambiance created that helps to trigger the senses. And once that is established, he will take the acoustic guitar and start playing while I write. And how amazing it is that once he gets the music to where he likes it, I'm done writing and I can share that with him. It's orgasmic. I get to read out loud in real time as I'm writing these things. And in the morning, this is also the case too, where we'll sit behind our laptops and he has the patience to, as I'm finished each paragraph, listen and offer his input and watch all of the wordplay come to fruition. I'll say, this is a concept I'm going to write about in this paragraph, and then, 5 minutes later, I'm like, this is what I wrote. What do you think?
Well, she's so very fast at her writing capabilities that it's sometimes astonishing to see what she can come up with so quickly and it be so eloquently stated and written, over or under use of commas aside. But yeah, it's amazing to be able to see it all happening in person in real time now after so many years of doing it apart and having to use correspondence to share it. Now it's as it happens. And that's amazing.
It's the same thing with music, too. He'll play, and in the same manner that I ask him if he likes this sentence or choice of words in this sentence, he'll say, do you like these notes, or do you think these ones sound better? And there will be times where I am so tedious about those things, I will ask him to play them like 5 or 6 times, but that's because it's important to him, so therefore it's important to me, and I don't just want to shun off the level of, well, this, follow which road regarding the next part of this song. And he listens, and he really does care about my input, and sometimes he'll mix my input a little bit with something he didn't think of until we had that discussion, and in the end the product is so fucking beautiful most of the time that it just blows my mind. And he'll shut his eyes and start playing, and it's unbelievable how good he is, and how he can just create music on the whim with his drums. And I'm starting to see him do that with the guitar too, which is newer for me than seeing him do that on the drums.
Yeah, I'd say that's for everybody.
Yeah. He really does help me to hone my software skills and teaches me some really great pointers in regards to recording, so much so that I'm finally getting to the point, and Tiffany helped a lot with this. Tiffany was my co-host with writing scripts for Rogue and Wicked, our crime podcast, because before that point I'd written poetry and legal papers and autobiography and several fictions. But now I've actually taken the time to do research and write scripts and read them aloud. And I was so terrified to do that at first. And a combination of Marshall and Tiffany's encouragement made it so that I recorded 50 episodes with her and wrote 20 of my own. And I would never have been able to do that without him encouraging me and spending the time and effort making sure that I was okay while I was doing it.
Well, and that's what we do for each other as a whole, is make sure that we both feel safe, and out of a mutual and reciprocated admiration and respect for not just our creative works and endeavors, but for each other as in a whole.
And our mutual artist friends, because our circle is full of amazing artists that paint and sing and sculpt and weld, and we have so many amazing creative people in our circles, and we're so kind to each other's friends, and our friends, we get packages from them all of the time
and give.
Yeah, we give and receive so many packages from our mutual friend artists. This entire bedroom and a lot of our office, the calendar in there, just most of our proximity is comprised of fellow artists that we love and respect, and so we're constantly surrounded and inundated by inspiration given to us from loved ones.
Absolutely. And I think that part of our relationship foundation being built so strong as it is because we have this shared passion, and creatives really flourish when your environment is created like that, and having a partner who understands that implicitly it speaks volumes, and it's very, very much cherished and not taken for granted. It's amazing to have that, to be able to share with somebody on equal measure, both directions likewise.
Right. I mean, there's always cooking, dancing, painting, writing.
She does the dance.
I do the dancing. I've learned a lot of types of dance, so sometimes I'll look like I have Tourette's, but it's still a free-for-all.
Sure is damn adorable, though.
We pretty much do everything.
We haven't made movies yet.
But we have made movies.
Oh, well.
We've done all kinds of types of movies, too.
Online snippets.
do sometimes record the process while we're restoring things.
Or somebody will play keyboard silently in the background while there's a bird and a rubber bird head being...
What he's talking about is the comedic relief that we both find very cathartic in the interim, because witticism has a lot to do with living in the moment, and living in the moment creatively.
And as much as we take our creative efforts seriously, it's good to be self-deprecating and not take yourself too seriously. Woe is me.
Yes, the nihilist.
I'm a tortured artist.
Right.
Artiste.
And it's interesting because we do mutually enjoy
torturing each other.
Well, yeah. That's another story. We'll get into the kinky podcast another time. But we do mutually enjoy a dark aesthetic. And we do gravitate towards beautiful monsters in horror films.
And architecture.
Oh, and intricate architecture, especially Gothic architecture, my God. Antiques and things that take a lot of time and effort to create, because a lot of beautiful energy goes into those types of things. The industrial music that we like, our knife collections and such. We could be perceived as very, very dark and organically and authentically so. And a lot of the things that we do cathartically are with the intention to release some of that dark energy too.
Would you hand me the tea and it's teased.
And while we can very much love and appreciate the Nietzsche approach on things, as it has it has a lot of he's very poised and very stoic, and the fatalist in me and the catastrophist in me can totally, I resonate with Nietzsche as well.
I did too when I was a teenager.
Right. I was gonna say, and that sounds very pompous.
Yeah,
and I don't mean we're not better or worse for veering off the Nietzsche path, but
no, it's just an elemental part of the growth, and it's a good chapter to have in the overall book of things to learn from.
Right, everyone from Nietzsche to Socrates to Pythagoras to Ada Lovelace. She invented the algorithm, which is a whole separate topic, but there's some philosophies involved in that, like there is with Tesla and Einstein too, even though they're scientists as well. Somewhere in the science and philosophy realms, you learn about these people and you're humbled by the fact that they have come up with something that we couldn't, and you learn from them.
Or they said it in a way that was the best possible version of it being stated.
Exactly.
For it to be a universal understanding.
Exactly, and sometimes philosophy can be redundant in that regard, and then you'll just learn about a philosopher who blows your fucking mind, and
like
that's
Manly P. Hall.
goddamn right.
The one go-to who we have yet to discover anything that he said that we don't agree with.
And that's unbelievable. Well, you listened to your first lecture with me.
I had read, but I had not heard.
Right. So anyway, I was the bigger Manly P. Hall fan than he was. That's a fact. I had gone further into Manly P. Hall's world.
Very true.
We have gone into that world together since living together. And what an amazing experience that is. If we have anxiety, we put him on and he gives our hearts and minds relaxing.
A rest.
Yes, he helps us relax. And
he's a great one to listen to as you're falling asleep.
He really is. The way that he consolidates information and has interesting stuff to say in such a smooth, soothing, trustworthy voice, it makes it so easy to know that while you're falling asleep, you've got somebody who's got their shit together speaking while your head's unraveling and going crazy.
Well, and again, it's kind of like anyone in our orbit, including each other. It's those that are vibrating on those right elevated transcendental frequencies that they just resonate more than others, and they literally and figuratively strike a chord.
Exactly. And again, Nietzsche did for me very heavily during my agnostic years, where I was going through a transition between really heavily bogged down by religion. I defied it, don't get me wrong, but I was still bogged down by it being Catholic. And so when I was 15, 16, and I was breaking completely free and telling all of that bureaucratic shit to go fuck itself, Nietzsche did have my back at that time. And I'm very thankful for him, as well as Alan Watts at that time. It really did balance out my dark and light hemispheres in those moments. And in the interim, there were so many good philosophers, albeit rumors about them, but their philosophies themselves, like some I've borrowed from Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Gandhi, Plato. There's just so many. Samuel Johnson, especially Samuel Johnson from the 18th century. He had so many quotes that are worthy of living by. They all took me to the point where I was writing my own philosophies and cherry-picking certain ideals that resonated really well with me. And that's actually how I found fucking Manly P. Hall, was through somebody who recognized the fact that while integrating all of those things, I sounded like him. And some theories that I had, which Marshall and I both enjoy as far as mythologies are concerned, is that Thoth and Hermes were the same, and that there's continuity between Buddha and Jesus and all of those things. As an eclectic spiritualist, which I ended up being.
And comes to be a very accurate term and description for us both.
Yes.
Not agnostic.
Right. Agnostic was very teens for me.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a phase when I was a teenager where I was unwilling to become an atheist because I knew better. I felt better. I'd experienced too much. But I'd been so fucked off by religion because of what that entailed as a whole, that was my rebellious phase, was to call myself an agnostic, kind of put a pause, a halt on everything, but to keep my mind open. And that was right before meeting Marshall in my late teens, and that's when I got to that point. Answers. Trying to make sense out of what my intuition was trying to tell me, and instead of looking for it through other people, I'd have a dream and look up what that meant. Or I'd have an experience with somebody who had a certain energy, and I would look further into it, so it was very organic. And till I became to recognize myself as an eclectic spiritualist. And Tiffany, actually, in 2004, was the one who let me know that that was a very befitting title for what she perceived my creative and spiritual interests to be. To me, spirituality and creativity are one and the same, at least in the laws of metaphysics and manifesting and all that.
And eclecticism does, again, become very apropos for both. And when you take influences and philosophies, and you have so many from such a wide palette to choose from, but you mix them all together and you come up with your own vibrant, unique colors, that is exactly how we both look at spiritualism and creativity.
Exactly. And it's amazing that we've been able to integrate that into the same realm, into the same space, which plays out in some of our sensualities and the energy that precipitates those things. We have shrines set around our rooms, both artistic and spiritual shrines, that I would say inundate, because it's a lot. There's just a lot of metaphors hidden within the placements, and there's a lot of symbolisms in regards to the statues and sacred geometry and crystals and animals and all that ensue. But you'll see shrines from wall to wall in our space, and it is comprised of both his and my favorites.
And it is, at this point in time, just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. It's been 1 year of physical integration as far as that's concerned, and right now what we're looking at is a canvas to take all these colors and plaster them on, and that canvas being a new homestead eventually.
And to continue our love and empathy and kindness and admiration, respect for each other in every single way imaginable.
And allowing somebody to see it as it's coming to fruition can be a very vulnerable place. And I know that eventually we're going to cover our vulnerabilities and idiosyncrasies and those types of things, because they're topics that a lot of people are afraid to discuss, but I think the majority of us have to contend with these types of things, and so therefore also relatable. I'm going to conclude this with the fact that our intention this time is to speak on what it's like to have a partner who is your best fucking friend with 23 years of barter trade, and how amazing it is to take that friendship and that barter trade and put it in real time and try to trust one another, to not berate each other, to not suck the inspiration out of one another, but to instead
invigorate,
yes,
stimulate, encourage, and inspire,
and
secure.
Yes, and the backbone of that for me is loyalty and good intentions and healthy prospects.
Absolutely. And if you do the math of the numbers mentioned, you might just figure out how old we really are.
And with that said, I don't know why we didn't make this topic alchemy. Just, it has all the right ingredients for it.